The hike. This happened to me about 10 years ago. I was visiting my grandparents. They lived in a really old house, sitting alone in the middle of a small hollow. I was there visiting with my family. I was 15 years old at the time. I didn't really like visiting there. Nothing against my grandparents. I love them. But when you're 15, you don't really want to sit around a bunch of adults all week. I used to take the days and use them to hike through the woods. I had done it many times before, but this occasion was the first time that I had something really scary happen to me. I went out much further than I ever had before, and I got lost. The area was too rural for cell phones to work, so I couldn't call or use a GPS app or anything. I wasn't too worried at first, but I did begin to get worried around the time the sun started going down. It was scary enough being lost, but being lost in the dark, man. And if that wasn't bad enough, a thick fog started to form as well. It was only about an hour after the fog began to form that I was completely overtaken by it. It was thick and was difficult to see anything. I was able to use the flashlight app on my phone to see a little bit where I was going. But if anyone has ever used their car lights or flashlights in the fog, you know it can sometimes be worse than just not having a light at all. I thought I had a general idea where I was going when I began hearing crunching sounds in the leaves. I thought maybe it was an animal, hopefully a raccoon, or a fox or something. However, as I kept walking, it kept within hearing distance of me. After about 15 minutes, I was pretty sure that whatever it was following me. Every scary movie that takes place in the woods flooded my mind. Blair Witch Project, Evil Dead, Deliverance. I shined my flashlight around, trying to see if I could see what was following me, but I wasn't able to make it out. The fog was too thick, and the reflection of the light made it too difficult. It got worse and worse as my anxiety grew. I kept trying to convince myself that whatever was out there was just an innocent animal, but it made no sense that whatever it was just seemed like it was keeping pace with me. I couldn't think of any animal that would do such a thing. I mean, it would either attack me or run away. I'm not sure how long I was wandering around in the fog before I finally heard my grandfather and my father yelling for me. I felt an instant wave of relief and began hurrying in the direction of their voices. Whatever was following me kept following me, though. It didn't really speed up, but I could hear it was still there. When I finally caught up to my grandfather and father, my grandfather had a fog light. I quickened my pace, and when they shined the light, my father told me to hurry up and get by his side. He had his rifle with him. When I turned and looked back at what they were shining the light on, I almost shrieked when I saw it was a bobcat that had been following me. I was horrified even more when my father shot and killed it. I didn't understand this at the time, but my grandfather and father immediately knew by looking at the bobcat that it had rabies. My grandfather said it wouldn't have followed me if it hadn't been rabid, but he could also tell simply by looking at it. They had to take the body, of course, and have it tested for rabies. The test was positive. It is pretty scary in retrospect, too, when I think that for over an hour or so, a rabid bobcat was following me through the woods in the dense fog.
It doesn't normally get too foggy around where I live. When it does, it's generally not a very thick fog either. But there was one night where we got this uncharacteristically thick fog around my home. This happened when I was 15 years old. I was the only one at home. My parents and my brother were visiting my aunt in a different state. I had been home for several days by myself. I spent a majority of my time on the computer while they were gone. The fog actually started rising around the time it began getting dark. I guess that was because it was so hot out and it got really cold that night. By maybe an hour or two after sunset, it was so thick that I couldn't even really see outside. I honestly don't care very much. I had no plans on going out that night. As I was playing my game, I heard an ear-piercing scream from outside. Our nearest neighbors were a few blocks away, so I didn't assume it was coming from their house. Worried, I got up and looked out the window. I turned on the porch light. I could barely see a single thing. I turned the light off and went back to my desk. I figured out it wasn't anything important. I wasn't able to get comfortable though. I kept wondering if maybe I should call the police. It could have been just a prank. I lived in a pretty affluent area, and some kids around here like to do that stuff. I didn't want to bug the cops for something that might not be a big deal to begin with. The more I thought about it, though, the more it bugged me. I finally decided that I should at least check out the window again. Right when I was getting up, something slammed up hard against my door, and I heard a really sick grunting sound. Freaked out, I went back over to the window and I turned the lights on. I was just in time to see a shadowy figure running off of my porch and then out into the fog. Still thinking it was a prank, I was surprised then when I heard another noise by my door. Looking over in that direction, I saw that someone was lying against it. This time I did call the police and explained what happened. They sent out a car. They found a woman, badly beaten but alive, lying semi-conscious against my door. Apparently, it was her that I had heard screaming. She had gotten attacked when she was out for a walk in the fog with her boyfriend. I guess he got angry and hit her several times when he realized what he did. He was too chicken to call the police, so he put her on my doorstep and ran off. He was picked up shortly afterwards.